Welcome back to another video, everyone. Jiu-Jitsu people are always trying to help each other out. It's one of my favorite things about Jiu-Jitsu, but just because we all have good intentions in trying to help each other out on the mat, that doesn't mean that all Jiu-Jitsu advice is good advice. Today, I've got 7 things that we should all stop saying. Well, it's actually 6 things that we should stop saying and 1 thing that we should actually start saying, but you get my point. I always try to give you good advice on this channel, and I know the best advice that I'm giving you is to head over to epicrollbjj.com and use the code podcast15 to take 15% off the best gis, rash guards, t-shirts, hats, hoodies, joggers, and more. A lot of the time, people just pick up a compression shirt from Walmart and use that as a rash guard. Don't do that. Don't waste money on gear that was not designed specifically for Jiu-Jitsu by grapplers. And that's what Epic Roll is. Epic Roll is designed to not only look good on and off the mat, but also to hold up to your most demanding training sessions. Give Epic Roll a follow on the gram at epicrollbjj and use the code podcast15 at epicrollbjj.com. epicrollbjj.com, coupon code podcast15. Here's some advice that you should and shouldn't be giving. When asked how to get better at Jiu-Jitsu, you often hear people give the advice, if you want to get better, just show up. On its surface, yes, you need to actually show up to train to get better. You can't get better at Jiu-Jitsu if you're not doing Jiu-Jitsu. But just showing up isn't going to make you better automatically. You need to show up and train with purpose. If you're not training with the intent to get better and work on things that you need to work on, then yeah, you'll get better just by being there and rolling, but you'll get better way slower than if you were training with purpose. Don't just show up with a goal for the day and the mindset that you are there to work on what you need to work on. You will often hear people say not to rely on strength while rolling. I think pretending that strength doesn't matter in Jiu-Jitsu is a pretty dumb approach. Of course strength matters. If it didn't matter, then most ADCC competitors wouldn't look like this. In training, people say not to use strength so that you develop better technique. I think this advice needs change just a little bit. When you are competing, you are going to use your technique with your strength. When you're training, you should not use strength in the absence of technique. You shouldn't just bench press your way out of the mount just because you have bad mount escape technique. You should work on learning the right technique to escape being mounted. But if you are doing your mount escape technique with no strength behind it, you're not realistically using the technique the way you will in competition. Strength isn't everything, but let's stop pretending it isn't something. Tell me if you've heard this conversation on the mat before. Hey, how do I get out of this position? Well, your first defense is don't end up there. All right, so I get what you're trying to do there, but that's not a helpful thing to say to someone. Maybe you could just help them escape the position in the likely event they'll end up there again. Hey, I've got a flat tire. Can you help me patch it? Well, the first thing you should have done is not run over that nail. Like, yeah, I get it, but can you just please fix it? If someone was to ask you how to get out of a position or how to recover to a better position, then give them that advice. You could say, if you're getting caught here a lot, you might be XYZ. But do you see how that's not as condescending? Let's stop pretending just don't get there is good advice at all. This next one is the one that I mentioned in the intro that is something that isn't said enough, but I think needs to be. When you are drilling, you need to drill on both sides. Thinking there's a good side and a bad side is a bad approach, and in all of these years of doing Jiu-Jitsu, I've only heard this advice said less than 5 times. My professor did a tournament recently, and after the tournament, he told us how he found himself in a position that he's better at on one side than the other, and he was very aware that if he was on his good side, he would have had an easier match. And he gave us this advice that you need to be drilling everything you learn on both sides. I don't want to find myself in a situation where I wish I was on a different side because I'm better there. Force yourself to drill technique from both sides from the beginning. Don't say, let me get this down and then I'll do it on the other side later. Don't do that. Just drill on both sides from the beginning. That's good advice. Now back to the bad. A common cliche in almost every jiu-jitsu school is to leave your ego at the door. Yes and no. If you have no ego, then you don't care if you suck and you're less likely to get better. Too much ego and you're just being a dick. You need the right amount of ego to get beat by something, want to learn how to not get beat by that thing because getting beat sucks, but not have such an ego that you're a dick to your training partner because they hit you with a clean technique. When people tap me in training, I'm 50% pumped for them because it means they are getting good at something, and 50% I want to learn how/what they did to me so that I can stop them from doing it again. And I also want to make whatever they did part of my game. I'm 0% pissed at them because I lost the training round. Training rounds are not competition rounds. I don't feel better about myself if I tap a teammate in training. I don't get down on myself if I get tapped by a teammate in training. I'm simply aware that one of those two things happened, and I try to analyze why and how and what I can do to improve based on that outcome. Enough ego to get better, not so much as to be a dick. The common advice of worry about position before submission makes sense at first glance, but it eventually transitions into bad advice. When you're talking to white belts and people who might be spazzing a bit, then yes, in broad strokes, they should focus on securing a position and learning how to control an opponent before sub-hunting. However, as you progress and get better, every transition from one position to another becomes its own little position where you can catch a submission or be caught in a submission. You need to always be aware and also always on the hunt at all times. The mindset of takedown, pass, control, submit, it's way too old school. This one is good for white belts, but I'd say it's bad advice for everyone else. This last one is a little tough for me because not only am I guilty of saying it, but I also don't want to sound like I'm attacking a positive message. Jiu-Jitsu is for everyone. We've all heard it, but it could use some minor tweaking because unfortunately, Jiu-Jitsu is not for everyone. For some people, Jiu-Jitsu just isn't a good fit and it's not for them. Everyone should try Jiu-Jitsu and anyone can do Jiu-Jitsu. No matter what physical limitation you have, there is a way that you can do Jiu-Jitsu, and we should be inclusive to everyone that wants to try. In that way, Jiu-Jitsu is for everyone. However, Jiu-Jitsu will not be liked by everyone. Everyone does not have to do Jiu-Jitsu. Sometimes people don't like the thing you like. It's hard for me to believe people wouldn't like Jiu-Jitsu because I love it so much, but they're allowed to have that opinion. If someone tries Jiu-Jitsu and they don't stick with it or enjoy it, it's fine. If they don't come back, there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe this one could be better said as Jiu-Jitsu can be for everyone. But if you don't like Jiu-Jitsu, you're wrong and you're probably not watching this video, so I can say that and not get mean comments about it. So there you have it, 6 things you should stop saying and 1 that you should start. I'm curious what the worst advice you've ever gotten is, so please let me know down in the comments. Since you're down there commenting, why not hit that thumbs up button and make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you are not already. There's some videos on screen. I think you should click this one or this one next, and I will see you next time.